Hi, Wildcats. Here is day 2 of writing. So, yesterday, my topic was writing about a time that it snowed. And yesterday, I drew my picture for my main event and I drew what happened right before. Then, in terms of writing, I wrote my catchy opening and my setting. So, hopefully, your job this week was to focus and make sure you had your pictures for your main event and what happened right before, along with your catchy opening. So today, I'm going to be drawing my picture for the end of my story, writing about my main event, and writing about the end of my story. So let's just recap what happened yesterday. So, yesterday, my main event was that I wanted to read a good book with a cup of hot chocolate because what happened right before is when I looked out the window, I saw that there was snow all over the place and I said, "You know what? You know what? I'm not going outside." So, since I'm not going outside, let me make the best use of my time. Let me do some cleaning and then let me look for a book. So, here's my story from yesterday. "It's snowing," I whispered to myself as I looked out the window. It was a frigid winter day, and there was snow blanketing the ground. I knew I wasn't going anywhere. First, I cleaned my room, and then I looked for a book to read. So, this is the beginning of my story, and I wrote about what happened right before. Today, I'm going to be writing about the main event and what happened at the end. What I did yesterday was I drew my picture about what happened at the end of my story. So I remember as I was reading my book, I made sure I got my snuggly blanket. Love laying down with a blanket. And as I was reading, because I was so cozy and comfortable, I ended up falling asleep. So here is a picture of me on my couch with the book on my chest, and I am asleep. You see those Z's showing that I'm sleeping. So that's what happened at the end. And so when we begin writing about our main event, we ask ourselves, is there a problem? In this story, there was no problem. I was chilling. I was just chilling at home, reading, drinking hot chocolate. And so because there was no problem, there is no solution to the problem. So I'm just writing about what happened at the end. So after I looked for a book to read, then I made myself a delicious cup of hot chocolate. I sat down and I started reading one of my favorite books. So let me start writing that. So first I cleaned my room. Next, I made myself a delicious cup of hot chocolate. Made myself a delicious cup of hot chocolate. After I made myself a delicious after I made myself a delicious cup of hot chocolate, I sat down with my favorite blanket and began reading one of my favorite books. Then I sat down, grabbed my favorite blanket, and began reading. I read all afternoon. Cool, so let me see if this matches my main event. Next, I made myself a delicious cup of hot chocolate. Then I sat down, grabbed my favorite blanket, and began reading. I read all afternoon. Matches my picture because there's me with the book and my cup of hot chocolate. Now it's time for me to write about the end of my story. So if you remember, I said because I was so relaxed and comfortable, I ended up falling asleep. And then that was the end of my story. Oh. Uh-oh. So let's see. Finally, I drifted. That means fell. I drifted off to sleep, snuggled under my favorite blanket. Finally, I drifted off to sleep, comma, snuggled under my favorite blanket. Snow days are the best days. And that's the end of my story. So today, let me just go over what I did today. Today, I drew what happened at the end of my story. Then after I drew what happened at the end of my story, then I wrote about my main event and I wrote about the end of my story. So here's what I wrote today. Next, I made myself a delicious cup of hot chocolate. Then I sat down, grabbed my favorite blanket, and began reading. I read all afternoon. Finally, I drifted off to sleep, snuggled under my favorite blanket. Snow days are the best days. I'm done. So, as you begin to write today, your focus is making sure you draw your picture for the end of your story. Again, this week we're looking for pictures. Draw your picture for the end of your story. Then you're going to write about the main event and write about what happened at the end. Remember, when you're writing about your main event, you're asking yourself, is there a problem? Sometimes there's a problem, sometimes there's not. So, again, we're looking for pictures and your best handwriting for day 2. Good luck. Can't wait to read the rest of your stories about a time you had fun with your family.